Hi submarine friends. I thought I would take this opportunity this morning to show you guys the rings that I make for reinforcing the hull. So when I say the rings reinforce the hull, what they do is they prevent the hull from going out of round when it's underwater. So the hull itself resists the water pressure, but the hull gets weaker when it goes out of round. So the rings maintain the roundness of the hull. This hull, given the size, can be 1/2 of an inch out of round to be in spec. Right now, it's between 1/8 of an inch and 3/16 of an inch out of round. So I'm well within spec. So the way I make the rings is, this is a piece of 5/8 thick by 2.5 inch wide flat plate. And all I do is I freehand cut it with a torch to get this shape. Then I put this in my handy dandy vise that I built. It works so good I may even paint it. And then I bend it into a 120-degree ring. So 3 of these makes 360 degrees. When I cut this out, I bevel the end. When I'm torching it out, I cut the end on a bevel, so when the two pieces come together, I can do 100% penetration weld. So that's how I make rings. It's really simple. Then, once this ring is ready to, once it's bent like this, then I take a piece of plate, another piece of plate like this, and I bend it this way. And that gets welded on here to create a T shape. And then I weld that all the way around. I have to constantly check to make sure it doesn't deform. And then I take the assembly, I put it in the hull. I will take a hydraulic jack and I'll push the hull into as round as I can get it. And then I weld this guy in. I do all 3 pieces and I have the reinforcing ring installed. Now, I already installed these 2 rings. And I was going to install one more forward of this, but because they're so easy to make, I have the steel plate. I'm going to add a 4th ring, and I'm going to add that right about here. Now the ideal place for that ring, you take there's a ring right here, you can see the bird marks, and right here is where the aft head is welded on. Now the ultimate place for that ring is not between this and this equally. It's actually, you take this distance plus 40% of the depth of the end cap, and you add that to this distance, divide by 2. So it's actually behind the center point from here to here. Now I can't do that, but because I'm only putting this ring in because I can, all it does, well, I shouldn't say all it does, what it does is it stiffens the hull even more. I don't need it. I'm only going to dive this thing 100 feet max, but if I can get a 500-foot depth rating just by adding an extra ring, why wouldn't I do it? So because I can't put it in the absolute ideal spot, the reason I can't is because it interferes with the hydraulic pump on my engine. I have to move it about 4 inches forward of the ideal spot. Okay, it's not ideal, but it's still way better than not having it. So I figured, why not do it? It's cheap insurance. Doesn't take long, doesn't cost much, a little bit of MIG wire and gas, bada boom, it's in. So that's what's happening today. You can see I got my welding sweater on. I'm hoping this sweater lasts until I'm finished welding this thing so I don't have to sacrifice yet another sweater. But I'm close. Ciao.